Welcome back to Bunny Hop TV, everybody. Today we're talking about a really crazy, out there, not well known serial killer. His name is Donald Pee Wee Gaskins. Without further ado, let's just hop to it. Right from the get-go, he was having just a really rough time with life. His mom was a sex worker, and she would sometimes lend him out to her customers, and that was just like part of his life for a little bit. And he, I guess, learned that this was normal and this neglect was normal. So he had a really troubled childhood up until the point where he got arrested at 13, but I'll get there. Before he got arrested, he found a couple of other mischievous friends, and they decided to be mischievous and SA one of the members' sister. I don't know if they got caught or anything. I haven't really found too much info on that. But in any case, then after that, he broke into a woman's home by himself, as far as I know. And he, on his way out fleeing, hit her in the head with an axe. She survived, and he identified her. She identified him. Anyway, he ended up in jail. He goes to jail. Then right when he gets in, he lands the name Sweetheart, which is known for inmates who are going to be regularly SA'd and put into forced labor. So then he knew that as just kind of regular life. He would trade inmates, other inmates, for like cigarettes and other favors. And inmates would trade him also because he would just be like a trustworthy person. But at the same time, he said that at one point there were 20 people at one time essaying him. And oh my God. Anyway, so there's a lot going on already before he even gets out of jail. But then he gets out after serving his time, right? He then goes back to jail after getting out because he gets out, marries an 18-year-old girl, and gets a job burning down farms for insurance scammers. And then he gets arrested because someone who tattletales on him, a teenage girl, tattletaled on him for burning down the farms, and he bludgeoned her with a hammer. And then she lived, and then also identified him to the cops. So he went back into jail. So in jail the second time, he flees inside of a trash can, kind of like in the first Annie movie, the original Annie movie, where she goes in a trash can and tries to flee the orphanage. Anyway, so he tries to flee that way, but they find him at his gang's clubhouse, the gross one that SA'd one of their sisters. They find him at that clubhouse. So he wasn't even hiding somewhere discreet. Kind of a dingus, but that's besides the point. This is all at the age of like before 20. Like, I can't even imagine myself doing this before 20. Can you? I apologize if you hear like a whirring or some sort of in the background. That's just the freezers. I'm at work, so this is where I have to record. Anyway, we're in the second time he's in jail. He serves the rest of his time after trying to escape in a trash can and being caught at his gang's clubhouse. He then serves the amount of time, gets out in 1961. 2 years later, he essays a 12-year-old girl, goes back to jail, and then in November of 1968, he gets out on parole, and he decided to start killing officially. He had a job as a roofer, and he decided to pick up hitchhikers. And the first hitchhiker he picked up in South Carolina, he essayed them and then tortured them until it was as long as possible. Then he, murdered her and decided to sink her remains in a swamp. So I'll look into exactly what swamp that was and put it in the Discord. But what he wrote about it was all I could think about is how I could do anything I wanted. And I'm a little kind of broken by this, because that's like something you say when you're in a candy store, or like a Legoland, or like a Lego store, because you're like, I can do anything I want, but this is yikes, like big yikes. So traveling the highways of like the South area of the United States, he repeated this with both genders of hitchhikers, male and female. He stabbed, suffocated, strangled, and then shot his victims, and then mutilated and cannibalized some of them. And he castrated males also regularly. So I'm sure he didn't miss a single one, I guess. He called them coastal kills, which I guess he murdered like 80 or 90 to people in this way. All in this way. With stabbed, strangled, suffocated, then shot. That's crazy to me. Like, oh my gosh, this is not something that they do in the movies. It's usually like 9 to 10, maybe 20. This is 80 to 90 people in the exact same way. Oh my goodness. Guys, you are not ready for this. So, these, what he calls coastal kills, gave way to what he would call serious murders in the 1970s. So, because he would kill people out of rage or profit and not for just the sake of doing it for pleasure, he decided, I like how I see decided, like I keep saying, these people decide to do, because these are these people's decisions. I'm not saying that they're like, they are serial killers, but like, these people did these things. These people decided that it would be a good decision for them. Like, this is just the way I think about serial killers. They decided this, right? So he decided for his first serious murder, or he decided that his first serious murder was his niece and her friend, because they rejected his essay advances, or his sexual advances, and he beat them to death because of it. So that was his first serious murder, and then he decided to hire himself out as a hitman. But initially he murdered like the target that he needed to, but then he murdered like 4 other people, so it was 5 for the price of 1 or something. Like, and then because all the bodies piled up, he made friends with someone who helped him bury corpses, destroy evidence, fence stolen goods, and because he trusted him so much, they murdered Dennis Bellamy, which is how Gaskins, Pee Wee Gaskins, got caught initially, or in the end, So after a 13-year-old girl disappeared, because she had, rejected his sexual advances, he, murdered her, and then the cops found her clothing in his home, so they arrested him for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And when they picked up his friend that helped him dispose of the body for questioning, he panicked and told everything that he knew. So Gaskins really, really got caught. I'm gonna have to make a part 2 for how he died and his like final days in jail and all that stuff, mostly because this thing keeps wearing on and off, and because I want to make sure that I don't have too long videos. But tune in for a part 2 next time. This was Bunny Hop TV, and I was Bunny.